Hey everybody, I hope you're doing incredibly well. Today, which is Tuesday, hopefully this is releasing on a Friday, I have conducted an interview with Dani Schick of LAITY. LAITY is a worship collective that's releasing a new project. If this is released on Friday, then today it is entitled Still, and be prepared for another project coming out a little later this year, but it's super exciting. I'm so happy to help them with the release of the album, with the promotion, just the promotion slide done. But I had the chance to sit down and through Anchor talk about the release of the new project Still. It's just such a super cool interview. Thing is, we talked for a full hour. An hour is a long time and not everybody has an hour. So here is some of the key parts of the interview. If you're interested in hearing the whole thing, then I'd suggest that you just go ahead and go to Anchor and listen to the whole thing. It's an audio based interview, so I'll have visuals on the screen so you can listen to this video if you want to. But again, LAITY new project Still has released, and I hope you enjoy. Please support this ministry, and I'm super excited to see what the Lord's going to do with them. Right here, I have on the phone Dani Schick. I had met Dani through my Evangelism 101 class. There was this one class where Dr. Wheeler was doing a class about, talking to people. At that time, I was promoting a giveaway I was doing. It was probably during Felice, and I mentioned it to him, and he just got super excited. Why? Because he had a band, and it's called LAITY, and so they're a worship collective. Would you be kind of considered the lead singer of LAITY?
So my title is founder, and then I do vocals and I do production, so kind of just spearhead the vision, basically. So right now we have our profile image for Spotify and everything is just three of us, and those three people are the three main vocalists and the three songwriters. It's me, my girlfriend, and then my best friend Turner, who lives in Nashville.
So how did you meet them, and how did they get lured into LAITY?
So my girlfriend I met in high school here in Texas. Actually, we met because I was leading worship and I needed a girl singer, and I knew she sang, so I was like, hey, come sing with us. And then the Lord ended up bringing us together and having us fall in love. That's a story for another time. So she's our creative director. She does all of our graphics, all of our album art, all of our social media. She runs all of that, and she is incredible. And then my friend Turner. So I met him when I lived in Seattle for a year. And then he's at school in Nashville at Belmont. Basically, every song idea I ever have, I bounce off of him and we bounce back and forth. On this album that's coming out, he wrote and sings two of the songs on it. He's amazing. The three of us sing all the music and we write all the music. And we really like the vibe of having a trio as kind of our profile image and stuff. And so that's kind of why we went that route with the three of us. But everyone else is not any less a part of it than we are. So if you go on the website, you'll see everyone. And there's people being added to that as we do new projects, as we do new things. But it's not a set group necessarily. The three of us are set, but musicians and stuff, we're going to be adding new people all the time, kind of depending on where we are or what we're working on.
Why is the group, the collective, entitled LAITY?
So that's my favorite part.
Awesome.
So if you look back in church history, it's not too long ago, a couple hundred years ago, but there was this distinction in the church between clergy and laity. And so the clergy were the ordained pastors that went to seminary or whatever and got ordained by however you get ordained, And the laity were just the people that went in for the gatherings and worshiped and loved Jesus, and just the regular, the average Joe, That kind of distinction kind of fell apart throughout the church history. And now there's not that distinction, you have pastors and just congregation, but it's not so distinguished. What's kind of happened though is that mindset has been starting to creep back in, especially with celebrity worship leaders and celebrity pastors, that these people are elevated above everyone else. The people on the stage, these worship leaders with their super cool jean jackets, and they are super fit and super good looking. Jesus calls us leaders to be above reproach, but I think a lot of time there's leaders that are trying to be above approach. So being unapproachable because they're so amazing. What I'm saying is our heart is to say hey, we're not pastors. We're not ordained, but we are literally just the hands and feet of Jesus. We're not doing anything special. We're not doing anything that's extravagant, because we're just doing what Jesus designed us to do, which is create and make music and make art for him. And so there's no social attachments on that. It's we're just regular people that are living our lives for the Lord, creatively, because that's what he told us to do. That's how he designed us to live. You've seen me like around school. I'm just like a normal dude, you know. Like I just have like long hair.
You are.
I just, you know, I'm not like.
Well, the thing is, not all the guys have long hair, and not all the guys walk around in sandals.
But I'm not like, you know, you don't look at me and you're like, whoa, that guy's like definitely a worship leader. You know, it's like, oh, that's just like a regular college student. And that's what I am. I just love Jesus, and like the Holy Spirit's in me, and he's like doing great, crazy things.
So what inspired the creation of Laity? So obviously you've said you've had a love for music, you wanted to do a band. So why did you specifically decide, okay, let's do a worship group instead of doing like a Casting Crown? I mean, they kind of blend in with the pop and maybe the worship, but like Laity is directly worship.
Yeah, well, because music, that's been my favorite thing growing up, like always, you know, whether that was like just listening to my dad's old U2 records, or like sitting in my room alone, like listening to like MGMT albums over and over and over again. I've always like so connected with music. And when I finally met Jesus my junior year, all of a sudden that connection with music turned into a connection to him. I've been a worship leader. Like I started leading worship when I was 12 at my youth group. I had always done it, but as soon as I really encountered Jesus and really got to know him, all of a sudden like moments of worship and music just turned into like these crazy, crazy experiences. And I would just every day like go home. I try to do this as much as possible. It's hard when you get busier, but just like get alone with Jesus and just like worship and like sing to him and like dance with him and sing songs. So then what I started looking at around me, like in the church, was just like not very creative worship, to where it's like everyone's just covering Hillsong United songs in their services. Everyone's just doing like Bethel songs and like playing with multi-tracks and like just covering songs. And I was like, no one's like really getting creative in worship music. We were made in God's image, so we were made with this creative nature. And I feel like that's what I was designed to do, is to create. I'm going to create music and I'm going to think outside the box. Like if you listen, especially to this album that's coming out Friday, like there's some stuff in it that is like a little whack. Like we have a saxophone on one of the songs and like some weird like synth sounds and some weird stuff that like you wouldn't hear on a Sunday morning. There's these people in pop music that are just making incredible things, but that's not finding itself into the worship community all the time, or some of it's getting lost somewhere. Like I don't want to be limited by my creativity. Instead, I want to be like inspired by the Lord to create something so that pop music is looking at worship and going like, what are they doing? Like, how are they getting those sounds? Like those lyrics are like insane. And then like maybe even discovering Jesus because of that. There's like the heart behind it. It's like at the end of the day, like, yes, we're musicians, we're creatives, but like we just want to see people like meet Jesus, and we just want to like disciple them. And like the way that Jesus has designed me to do that is through music. Like that's my avenue. It's so much more than that, you know, like this has like made it so I can meet people, so that I can like talk to people that are like-minded, that want to do the same thing, that want to like know Jesus and like truly like fulfill the calling he's put on all of our lives to like go make disciples. So that's kind of the end goal there.
Laity, obviously we've talked briefly about it, trying to shift the sound of modern worship today. This is not only through the music itself, but I guess, dare I say, also lyrically. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe that God still speaks. I believe that he still like gives revelations. The Holy Spirit's in us, same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. And so he's not done speaking new truths into us, speaking new perspectives, especially over his word. Like his word is active and breathing, like sharp as a two-edged sword. I think listening to the Holy Spirit, reading his word, like God's going to teach you new things that haven't really been talked about yet. That's kind of where we are really working lyrically, is saying like, all right, God, what are you speaking to us? What are you teaching us? And to really get creative. So there's like a line where you don't want to get too poetic that people don't understand what they're singing, but you don't want to be so simplified that like it doesn't cause people to like go any deeper with Jesus. So we try really hard to like strike this middle ground that's like, yes, some of these words are just like simple truths, like literally like wide place, like the tagline is like, I walk in a wide place, which is literally like Psalm 119 verse 43. Like it's literally straight from that psalm. That's like a simple truth, but once you pair it together with these other truths that like Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law, and like all this other stuff, you like get this revelation that's like, oh my gosh, I walk in a wide place because of what Jesus did, making that poetic and making something that people can really resonate with without going too far. That's like where our heart is lyrically, at least. So yes, we do want to create lyrically as well as sonically.
About the aesthetic of Laity, from what I see from Instagram, do you know anything behind that? I don't know, because it's not a normal aesthetic I usually see.
Yeah, so we're trying really hard in the same way with music to like create something fresh, to create something new, because I think God's always doing a new thing. Right now with Still, the album coming out Friday, the vibe of it is we are just praying into it, and it's just like black and white. It's the vibe. So everything kind of shifted to this black and white nature. Just the way she works is like, she's amazing, and she just does like, I don't know. I don't know. But that's why it's black and white right now. It's going to switch to color with the next album, which it's going to come out in September, October-ish. And then
really? Okay.
Yeah. And then we have a live album planned to release in December or January. That's kind of the plan for the future. We've been like planning it musically, aesthetically, like creatively. We have this vision for the next year at least.
So now that you mentioned it, there are technically 4 songs on the album. So like looking at it, like, okay, 8 tracks. Oh, it's 6. But no, there's an intro, outro. You mentioned earlier as the fact that there's going to be 2 main releases, basically 4 songs each, right?
Yes. So, well, this one's 4 songs. There's that first song, Dreading Water, that's an intro track. And then Sunken Treasure is the outro track. And then we have 2 stripped down versions, which are super raw and intimate. I love those tracks. So the album coming out later this year is 6 tracks long. And all of those tracks, none of them are instrumentals. They're all just like bangers, man. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. We're working on that one right now, and I'm really excited about it.
You've released 2 singles previously, A Place for the Called and White Place. I was a little surprised, but I mean, it's not a bad idea that they weren't included in Still. Are they included in the next project?
They are not, no.
What was the reasoning behind that?
The way we're kind of looking at releasing music is just like whenever we have an idea or like a project, it's like on its own, if that makes sense. A Call for the Called, we have the song story on our website, I believe, for that one. That was like a project, like just that song in itself. And then Wide Place was a project, like just that song in itself. And like everything we release is different from the other thing. So like Still coming out, it doesn't sound like Wide Place. It was recorded in a high budget studio with like all like analog instruments. Like it's all real sound, not a whole lot of like vocal layering, not a whole lot of creative production, because most of it was done live. But like Wide Place was super produced. Like we had a lot of time to like work out kind of the way we wanted it to sound, how we wanted it to be. So it's just like different vibes for everything we release. Since they're all different visions, like each project in itself is a different vision, so we leave them all separate. We're not making songs or music for any industry or any people. Like we're making it for the glory of the Lord. And that's why I think people are really connecting to it, is it's like it's outside of the box, it's different, because we're like totally independent, you know? Like I would love to have a manager, but right now like I'm the manager. We're just doing what we want to do. And there's no boundaries, there's no guidelines, and it's just like super freely creative.
Thank you for taking the time, for sharing your heart, for being transparent. I think especially in the world when we can't trust anybody, when we can't even trust CNN and Fox because of fake news, when we can't trust research on the internet because they might be hiding stuff, or just any random thing, to hear from you personally and to talk about your heart, Lord. Just want to thank you for that, and definitely hope others will see it, and for them to see you guys not as a bunch of people who are trying to make a name for ourselves, but trying to make Jesus' name more well known, and also, you know, just going into the ministry where God is like.
Yeah,
so
man.
I just want to thank you for that and taking the time. Again, thank you so much, Dani Schick. Again, Laity, a new project, EP. I mean, call it what you want, project. Still released July 13th. This is definitely going to be a monumental day for you guys, and hoping for all the best. So super excited. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the interview. Again, please support the ministry. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever. Have a great day, and God bless.